There is no way back through the waters of Lethe. Behind the Legate words, what the Legate had said previously, Marcus seemed to hear Gwern the hunter. No way back through the waters of Lethe. No way back. When Gwern was talking about how there was no way back for him to come back to a Roman way of life. Uncle Aquila crashed up from the table. And what of their last stand that Marcus has just told us of? Is not that a heritage fit for any legion? Remember the last, 200 men or so had stood really bravely, really firmly and strongly with the eagle in hand, against the last people. And that would have been made, such a brave stand. Is that not a heritage fit for any legion? The legion turned a little in his chair to look up at him. The conduct of a few score men, okay, not 20. Score is 20, so 40 and 7 years ago, so 40 meaning 4 groups of 20, so it was 87 years ago. That anyway, a few score men, a few groups of 20 men. The conduct or behavior of a few score men cannot counterbalance the conduct of a whole legion. He said, "You must see that, Aquila, even though one of them was your brother." Uncle Aquila grunted savagely, and the legate turned back to Marcus. "How many people know that the eagle has been brought back?" "South of the wall," of course, north of the wall, everyone knows, but south of the wall, we 4, your own cant commandant, who I gather knew of the matter from yourself, and the commander of the garrisons at Borcovicus. He was my old second at Isca Damnanorium, and gained his cohort for his defense at the fort after I was wounded. We took pains that no one else in Borcovicus should know what it was all about, and he will say nothing unless I give him leave. Rumor may come down from the north, of course, but if so, I imagine that it will die out as the earlier rumor did." "Well enough," said the legate. "Naturally, I shall lay the whole matter before the Senate, but I have no doubt of their verdict." Uncle Aquila made a small, expressive gesture as though screwing something up and tossing it in the brazier. "What do you suggest becomes of this?" He nodded to the defiant, squatting eagle. "Give it an honorable burial," said the legate. "Where?" Marcus demanded huskily after a moment. "Why not here, in Caliva? 5 roads meet here, and the legions are forever passing by, while the place itself is the territory of no particular legion." Okay. He leaned forward to brush the gilded feathers lightly with one finger, his face thoughtful in the lamplight. "So long as Rome lasts, the eagles will pass and repass under the walls of Caliva. What better place for it to lie?" Uncle Aquila said, "When I had this house built, there had lately been a flare-up of unrest hereabout, and I had a small hiding place made under the floor of the shrine to take my papers in case of further trouble. Let it lie there and be forgotten." Very much later that night, the 4 of them stood together in the small alcove shrine at the end of the atrium. The slaves had long since gone to their own quarters, and they had the house and silence of the house to themselves. A bronze lamp on the altar sent up a long tongue of flame and the snape of a perfect laurel leaf. And by its light, the household gods in their niches in the lime-washed walls seemed to look down, as the 4 men were looking down, into the small square hole in the tessellated floor just before the altar. Marcus had brought the eagle down from the watchtower, carrying it as he had carried it so many miles, and slept with it so many nights, in the crook of his arm. And while the others watched in silence, he knelt down and laid it in the small square cyst that reached down through the hypocaust into the dark earth beneath. So there's this little opening, and it's his hiding place under the floor, beneath where they have the shrine for their household Roman gods. And I lost my place. He had laid it, no longer bundled in tattered violet cloth, on his old military cloak, and drawn the scarlet folds closely over it with a gentle hand. He had been very proud to wear that cloak. It was fitting that his father's eagle should have it now. The 4 men stood with bent heads, 3 who had served with the eagles in their different times, 1 who had suffered slavery for taking up arms against them. But in any moment there was no gulf between them. The legate stepped forward to the edge of the square hole, looking down to where the scarlet of Marcus's cloak was all but lost in the depths beyond the reach of the lamplight. He raised one hand and began very simply to speak the valedictory, the farewell, as he might have spoken it for a dead comrade. Suddenly, to Marcus's tired mind, it seemed that there were others beside themselves in the lamp-lit shrine, notably, too, a slight, dark man with an eager face beneath the tall crest of a first cohort commander. And a shock, that would be Marcus's father. Suddenly he looks and it's almost like my dad's here, bearing the eagle with us. And a shock-headed tribesman in a saffron kilt. Yet, when he looked at the tribesman, he was gone, and in his place the young centurion he had once been. That would be Gwern, right? He was a tribesman with this, kilt to match his people, but really, he hadn't always been that. In his place, Marcus really sees the centurion that he had once been. Here lies the eagle of the 9th Legion, the Hispana, the legate was saying. Many times it found honor in the wars against foes abroad and rebellion at home. Shame came to it, but at the end it was honorably held until the last of those who held it died beneath its wings. It has led brave men. Let it lie forgotten. He stepped back. Esca looked questioningly to Uncle Aquila, then at a sign from him, stooped to the segment of solid-mounded tessera which stood upreared against the wall and fitted it carefully back into place over the hole. It had been well contrived, this hiding place that Uncle Aquila had made for his papers, with the segment replaced and the pattern completed. No trace of it remained, save for one all but invisible chink, just wide enough to take a knife blade and open. Tomorrow we will seal it up, said Uncle Aquila, heavily. Faintly into the silence, down the soft, wet wind stole the long-drawn, haunting notes of the trumpets from the transit camp, sounding for the 3rd watch of the night. To Marcus, still gazing down blindly at the place where the square hole had been, it seemed that they were sounding with unbearable sadness for the lost eagle, and for the lost legion that had marched into the mist and never come marching back. Then, as the distant trumpets quickened into the shining spray of notes that ended the call, suddenly his sense of failure dropped from him like a tattered cloak, and he knew again, as he had known in the ruined signal tower while the hunt closed in below, that it had all been worthwhile. He had failed to redeem his father's legion, since it was past redeeming, but the lost eagle was home again, and would never now be used as a weapon against its own people. He raised his head at the same time as Esca, and their eyes met. A good hunting? Esca seemed to be asking. It was a good hunting, Marcus said. So, this is not the last chapter, there's still one more, but I want to read to you a reminder of what the foreword says at the beginning of the book. Sometime about the year 117, the 9th Legion, which was stationed at Iberacum, where York now stands, marched north to deal with a rising among the Caledonian tribes, and was never heard of again. This is real life, this really happened, right? During the excavations of Silchester, nearly 1,800 years later, there was dug up under the green fields which now cover the pavements of Caliva, Atrobotum, a wingless Roman eagle, the cast of which can be seen to this day. We can go see it today. Go to England and see it in what's called Reading Museum. Different people have had different ideas as to how it came to be there, because it's so much farther north than where the Legion started and then went up to, right? But no one knows, just as no one knows what happened to the 9th Legion after it marched into the northern mists. It is from these two mysteries brought together that I, the author, have made the story, The Eagle of the Night. So this is her, fancy of how maybe the eagle did come to be, lie in such a southern city when it doesn't quite make sense. All right, we have one more chapter to read, which I really like it. Hope you'll still stay with me to that end. And as for right now, I hope you have a great day.